Welcome to the In Her Power podcast. I'm so excited you're here. My name is Kerri-Ann, and I'm an empowerment coach, a Reiki master, and a yoga teacher. But most importantly, I'm a human being and a spiritual being just like you. I started this podcast to bring more awareness, more tools, and more insights into being in your power. I've been on a journey of personal growth and expansiveness for over 10 years now. And the reason why I do this work is to help amazing women like yourself is because I have seen how powerful it is to live from a place of authenticity, both personally and for my clients. So if you are listening to this podcast, then I imagine you're curious to learn more, or maybe you feel stuck or don't know where to start. And maybe you've had this kind of like itching feeling that there's just something more to your life than what's currently showing up for you. So embrace that curiosity that is wanting to emerge here and step into your expansiveness. In this episode, I have a conversation with Lianna Walden, or Walden. And I'm really excited about this conversation and sharing it with you because we start talking about sexuality, which can be a really hot topic and also pretty taboo. But we're sexual beings. We came because of sex. Like we were here, we were formed because of sex. And so we start to dive into having that conversation around how to explore your sexuality. And for some of you that are listening to this, you might get a little red in the face, which is totally fine and normal. Just notice how you feel as you listen to our conversation. Notice what comes up for you. If you feel shame, if you feel embarrassed, if you kind of want to shy away from the topic, it's all okay and it's all normal. You are so normal. So I hope you really enjoy the conversation that Lianna and I have. And again, try to embrace what you're taking in. Okay? Enjoy. Okay, we're back for another episode of In Her Power, and I'm really excited about today's guest. I'm excited about all my guests, but I'm really excited about today's guest because this area actually that we're going to talk about is something that I've only dabbled into, and I want to dive deeper myself personally into this area. And I think Lianna has so much wisdom and experience in this area to start guiding many of us to start looking at ourselves. And this area, dun, 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 is around our sexuality and sex. And Lianna is a sex and relationship coach. I met her maybe 6 or 7 months ago. She came on a retreat of mine here in Brazil. And we just like connected energetically. We do very similar work, and yet we do it very differently. We use different methodologies and modalities, which is awesome. And she specializes in, like I said, in an area that I wouldn't say is new to me, but I haven't dived deep into it. And I know for me personally, it's coming. And I know a lot of the women that I work with and this audience that I speak to want to start talking more about sexuality and about sex. So for some of you listening to this or watching it, you might go, oh, and have to your face might turn red. You might be like, I'm not ready to go there yet. I'm going to encourage you to just lean into the discomfort. And for others of you, you might be like, yes, I'm so excited about this topic. So Lianna, thank you so much for being here and allowing me to have this conversation with you about sex and relationships.
Yay. Yes. All the good stuff. Nice to be here too, Kerri.
Yes. So just to get started, so people can kind of get to know you a little bit and just kind of give us the abbreviated version of kind of your journey into how you became a sex and relationship coach.
Okay. Well, I've always had an interest in sexuality, first of all. So that was kind of running through my life as a teenager and throughout my years. But at one point I became a filmmaker and I was working on a number of different films, and I decided I met this woman who was a sex coach at the time, and we were looking to start some new projects, my partner and I. And I'd never heard of a sex coach before, so I started talking to her and I found her fascinating and interesting, and I thought, wow, like this is an amazing job. I didn't know people did this. So I started to we started to put together a show, like a reality TV show that I went around and was trying to sell it to various broadcasters in Canada and the States. And at the same time, I was wanting to change my own career because I had been involved in film for a very, very long time. I just wanted to do something else. And my husband at the time and I were also experimenting and exploring a lot. He had just come out as bisexual, so our relationship was in this kind of different state, trying to figure out what to do with it. We were opening the relationship as well, and then I met this woman. Her name is actually Kim Anami, and so it was just I started to learn some stuff from her, and we were recording her, and at some point. The show didn't actually take off because there was a lot of pushback from broadcasters. They didn't think that a show like that would work, like a heterosexual sex show. They didn't think that so the in between commercials would the advertisers would pay money to be part of that. So they liked the show, but they didn't want to invest. So, anyways, that's how it started. And I just said, I'm going to start getting more involved with this and finding out more about what this is all about. And then with my husband being bisexual, there's a whole story around that because we were exploring and started writing about it. And he wrote a play, and I started getting calls from people who started writing about our experiences. And then we took this play and we toured around North America with the play and talked about. The play talked about him coming out as bisexual and us opening our relationship. So it was a conversation that people wanted to have but weren't having at the time. And we started it because we couldn't find really that much information that was helpful for us. And we thought, hey, we gotta talk about this. And so I just started getting calls from people, and then I just dove deep in and said, okay, I want to do this. This is really an interesting area, and it's a multidimensional area which really interested me. There was just so many doors that I hadn't opened yet in my life. So yeah, that's how I started, and I've continued to this day. Continue to meet new people that are in the industry doing different kinds of things around sexuality, intimacy, relationships. Continue to explore myself. Continue to expand in this area. It's really, there's a lot here, a lot of energy here.
Yeah, there is. I think there's a lot out there. When I do my work, working with women about really being in their power. We look at finances. What is our financial health like? What is our physical health like? What is our spiritual health like? What is our relationships? So that could be romantic relationships, relationship with others. And then there's that other component of like our sexual life, our healthy sexual life. And that is it feels like the word sex itself is so taboo, though it's starting to become more focused on, more mainstream, we're opening ourselves up to talk about it more and explore it more. And I think there's a lot of shame around something actually that we don't even know, that we haven't given ourselves permission to explore. So when you're thinking about all that, and this is why I wanted to have you on, is to start having those conversations, especially with people. Now, my audience kind of varies for sure. And I don't want to make any assumptions about them, but I imagine a lot of them, it's like, oh, I haven't really given myself permission to talk about it openly. Maybe I talk about it in my mind. But when you're starting to work with someone who's beginning to explore their sexuality, what's that process like to get them to start opening up to it?
Yeah, well, there are so many elements, but I take it right back to the bottom, the very beginning of what sex is all about. And it's about the connection to our own bodies. So I want to find out how are they connected to their body, first of all? How are they connected? What do they do that allows them to connect to their body? And, many people are involved in physical activities and various movement, but what else do they do? What various things are they doing? How do they feel about their body? What do they feel about their, then getting from their body into their genitals? What do they think about their genitals? And how are they taking care of themselves? So really focusing on the physical is how I like to start. Because if you don't have a good relationship or a happy relationship or a positive relationship with your physical, then it's very hard to get deeply involved sexually because you're hiding from yourself in a sense.
I was just thinking, or what came up for me is I'm a runner, And for so many years, I really disconnected from my body as a runner. So, for example, it's like put on the headset, put music on, ignore what's happening in the body, just go.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
the focusing on the running, when I focused on my body, it was like I felt miserable. It was like, this is hard. I'm sweating a lot. I'm blah, 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 blah. And when I think about my sexual journey, especially at the start, it was like that. It was kind of like put
Yeah.
on the music, just go. Don't be in my body. Just
Yeah.
make my body move. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But
Yes,
as I started
exactly.
to explore of like, how does that feel in my body? Is that feel good for me? And is it just feel uncomfortable? Does it feel bad? And so that's
Exactly.
what I love, and about taking my power back, in terms of connecting with my body, both with a partner and by myself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, is connecting to the body. Now, we do various types of sports. As you said, running is very popular. It's all very linear based kind of sports that we do. Even yoga is a linear based sport, and they're really great for getting in shape and feeling good physically about your body. But unless you, like you were saying, unless you can sort of tap into the feelings that are going on at the same time, then you have a disconnection there.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that point of finding out what is going on, what kind of physical movement they are involved with, I would start to work with them on creating some non-linear movement. Because most of the time we do linear movement, even when we're walking, we're running, where yoga is non-linear, is linear as well. So what I try to shift them into is something that's a little bit more non-linear. And one example of non-linear would be dance, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So a kind of a movement. When I say non-linear, I mean that you don't have an agenda for how you're going to move. You practice letting go of what your expectations are of the move, or what you've always done habitually, and let your body just move you in a way that you're not expecting the next move. You're not expecting what's going to come. You let the body lead you, because when you get into sex, it's about letting go of trying to control what you're doing, right? You want to be able to just release. Surrender is a big word that's used around sexuality. Be able to surrender in the sense of surrendering to what your body desires, what your body wants, what your body needs at that moment. So the nonlinear movement exercises are really good for people that are just starting to connect with their bodies, because I find that it's difficult for a lot of people, because you're used to, okay, I'm a runner, and it's sort of it's a linear movement. It's the same, and you keep going the same way. And a lot of people are disconnected from sort of a dance type of move. And it doesn't have. I'm not talking about actually dance with uh, with with particular structure at all. I'm just saying you turn music on, you try to drop out of your head. I always encourage music that doesn't have any kind of lyrics, because then you're again in your head listening to the lyrics or singing. Just feeling the music. Let your body feel it. So connecting with your body in a way that your body is kind of leading. Your body has the intelligence. This is part of embodiment, but embodiment is very closely connected to sexuality and intimacy kind of exercises.
So let me ask you this: like, what are the benefits, or what have you seen in terms of when people really? I imagine I know what they are, but I want to hear from your experience. Like when they get out of their head and into their body, and just allow the body, surrender to the body, and let the body do what the body wants to do. What benefits do people get from that? What do they discover about themselves?
Well, first of all, the reason I want to take people on that journey, and that I do that with people, is because if you want to connect to your desire, you have to connect through your body. Your body is what's going to, the desire is, what is it that is going to, that makes me feel good? What is it that turns me on within my own body? And if you're not connected to your body, you don't get that kind of a connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the benefits of, first of all, dropping out of your head releases you from the chatter that's going on. And when you're when you're ultimately in a sexual situation, you don't want to be in your head. You want to be as out of your head as possible. And as soon as you get back into your head, it's like, what am I doing? I don't know if this is right. Am I looking okay? Am I feeling okay? Does this person like me? Do I like them? You know, so then you're questioning, judging. So you want to get out of your body, because sexually, the sexual dimension is just fluid and loose and relaxed. So learning how to drop out of your body in a non-linear movement allows you to relax more. It's sort of a meditative state, but in a movement type of way, in a movement and meditation kind of put together, right?
Yep.
And it releases stress. It will help release anxiety. What it does, and what I've noticed with lots of people, is that there are releases that come because your body holds on to so much, right? So there might be a part that you're moving like, oh my God, and then suddenly you burst into tears because you haven't felt that before, or in the side of your body or something. And so it's a release of some energy that might be stored and tied up inside your body. And we want to release those things. This is also then connected to, orgasm, the release of the energy in the body. So we start with getting connected to the body, being able to let the body lead in the movement in a non-linear fashion. So no agenda. And then you really connect and you feel your body. You drop out of your head. You become, you drop out of the need to control. And that is part of why I like to do this exercise as well, is because we want to get ourselves away from trying to control everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's tiring, right? It's tiring to always be in control.
A lot of energy. Yep.
It's a lot of energy, exactly. It's a lot of energy, and you ultimately, I don't believe you can ultimately control much besides your world, but you can control what you feel, right? You can control what's going on inside of your body. So when you're connected to it, you have more understanding. You have more understanding of what's necessary to keep yourself feeling good and to heal yourself.
Yep. Well, and I think when you're in a state of control, that means you're in a state of anxiety, worry, fear, and that's a lower vibrational frequency. It's more dense, and it's survival. It's not creative. It's not abundant. It's not thriving. And when you fully let go and surrender with full trust, right? There's a sense of freedom, because I'm actually a dancer, and there's, as you said, linear dancing. So I was a trained ballerina for many years, but there was also other classes I took. It was like free form movement, not so structured. And when you fully just let the body move, it's like absolutely free, and it's going to hold you. It's the same thing with when you dance with a partner, especially as a woman, and you fully surrender to the partner and trust. Your body will move with the energy of the partner, right? And you don't have to control it so much. And you're actually safer because you're not tensing in the body, right? And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful process. And I think that even with sex itself, people go in and it can be, for most people actually, and I'm going to make an assumption here based on just my observation and my conversations with a lot of whether it's my clients or my friends, is most of the time it's very linear sex. Yeah. And it's not as enjoyable, because when you start to fully let go, and it's not always an easy practice. I will tell you that from my own experience, it's a little bit of fully let go. It's takes you on this journey that's unbelievable. Yeah. And like you said, it sometimes helps move an emotion out of the body. I can recall, a time where I had sex and all of a sudden I started crying. And my partner was like, "What's happening?" I'm like, "It's okay. Allow it to come up. let it move." And he was like, "Okay, we'll just keep flowing with this." Yeah.
Well, that's why diving into the practice of understanding yourself sexually is so beneficial and so beautiful, because you then, your body just knows what to release and when to release it. And so there's all sorts of things that can happen when you're having sex if you're able to surrender to your body, surrender to the situation, crying, screaming, laughing, whatever it happens to be. If you don't judge it and you let your body just do what it needs to do, then all of those things that you've held inside of you get a chance to release, and you finish your session or whatever time you've been having sex. Just wow, I feel much better. Hey, here, Bella. No,
Yeah,
what's her name?
Bella. Yep.
Yeah.
I think someone has buzzed the apartment down below, and so she's letting us know
Okay.
that she's here, present. She's a part of this journey too. We surrender to it, however it shows up.
Surrender to it. That's right. You're in our homes, and things happen. Yeah. So yeah. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is, I mean, there are a lot of people, and this included myself on my journey of looking at my sexuality, is that shame comes up, and it's almost like I don't want to touch that. It feels really scary to even look at my sexuality, to even look at my body parts. It's like looking in the mirror at myself, whether I'm clothed or not. It can be so hard for people. So
yes,
how do you help people overcome and work through that shame so they can start to release and surrender?
Yeah, well, that is a big one, shame, and I have this whole movement now called the shameless pleasure movement, because it is how do we let go of the fear, the shame, and create pleasure and love, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's a process. It's a process, and I usually, again, as I take my clients through sort of non-linear movement types of methods, I work with them on starting to really love their body, especially their genitals. And this is more so for women than men, because men, they can see their penises; they're right there all the time. But for women, you don't see your vulva, unless you lean way down over, and most of us can't do that. So the practice is really to get to know the body, get to know your vulva, get to know what first of all, there's various meditations that I have and things that I do for starting to love your entire body. But one practice is sort of a ceremonial kind of yoni event that I encourage people to go on if they're taking sessions with me. To actually spend an evening, an hour, looking at yourself, seeing what you look like, seeing how you move, seeing what it feels like touching you in different areas, and really going into your own body. I mean, this is your body, right? Mm-hmm. And I understand the shame that's been put upon us. It's just been layers and layers from all sorts of societal things and religious things and families and just generations of bullshit, really, about the female body, right? So we do have to peel these layers one bit by bit. And I have had clients that say, well, I started the ceremony last night, but I couldn't really do it for more than about 5 minutes. So it's okay. It's good. Okay, 5 minutes. You just, she sat down, she did a little bit of this. So taking it step by step, nothing is just gonna, can't just the shame won't all be gone immediately. It takes time. It takes layers, stripping off these layers of, okay, what is it that I'm really shameful about? Why am I shameful about my body or my nudity? Why have I never actually looked at what my vulva looks like and I don't know anything about it? What does it look like? What does it do when it's in different forms and shapes and colors? So stripping down these layers and unveiling and revealing, the natural beauty that everybody is. Women, and I say women in particular. There's shame with men too, but I don't. Men, it's more around size. There's a lot of shame around. Okay, am I big enough? Am I going to be okay? Is it going to be satisfying enough? And that again is just a lot of pressure around what you should look like and how your penis should look, or how big it should be, because women aren't going to like it if it's a certain size. And I always go back to, listen, it's not about your size. It's about what you offer as a man, what you offer as a human being to this woman. What kind of love can you bring to this situation, right? What do you know about sexuality? So there's learnings about sexuality itself, about your own desire, about sexual energy is a big part of the work that I do, connecting to your own sexual energy. and connecting to another person's sexuality and energy. And that again is, it's based back down to connecting to your own body. And so that the energy that you create in your own physical body has, like you saying, this vibration that is at a higher frequency. When you go into having really good sex and you get into experimenting with orgasms, your frequency just goes up like crazy. And this is the healing properties of orgasm. It creates this high frequency, which is the opposite of what fear is. Fear is the dense, contracted energetic frequency. So feeling this, you can just I was talking about this on a video I did recently, how orgasms can save you because the frequency gets so big and high. And even if you are faking an orgasm or you're simulating an orgasm, maybe eating food or something, you just feel better just doing it. Your body opens, your whole vocal cords open. You kind of lose what's going on in your head. The chatter releases. So our body is so important sexually, and so that's why again I go back to let's start loving our body, getting to know our body, and then along with that comes breathing into our body.
So I definitely want to talk a little bit more about getting into a higher vibrational frequency and this idea, and you see it all the time in posts on social media and articles around how a good sex life can help your immunity. But before we go there, I want to go back to this kind of, I want to say, misinformation around our bodies and sexuality, and the fact that there is a lot of information out there. Actually, you can find a lot of research, but it's not common to talk about it. As I said, it's still taboo. It's like I know for myself growing up, looking at sexuality, I made this kind of almost assumption on myself or expectation. I should just know, right? It's my body. I should know how it works sexually. But for example, when we talk about the vulva versus vagina, I mean, people call it the vagina, and that's what we mostly name it, but that's not actually the vagina. Until you start digging in and understanding your body, you start to learn what the vagina is and what the vulva is, And then there's all this misinformation on how you should be turned on, especially as women. And if you're turned on one way, it means this. If you're turned on another, I mean, and then where do people tend to go to for this information? Because they want to know. They go to things like porn.
Yeah.
Right? They go to things like porn, or they start to have conversations with their friends, which is great, but then they compare themselves to their friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or they go to, again, what they think society expects of them. And so what I'd like to encourage or recommend people, the first step, as you said, is first getting in your body.
Yeah.
Just getting out of your head into your body, however that is, trying to get it out of it in a linear way and try to get it in a more fluid, like letting it go. And like you said, put music on. I love the idea of not using that's okay.
I left my wall.
It's all right.
All right, keep going.
So not getting, not having any lyrics to bring you back into the mind, to keep you in the head or the body, and let yourself just go. And I know at first it's going to feel super uncomfortable to people. They're like, I don't know what to do because they've been so much in their head for so long.
Yeah.
So that idea. And then the second recommendation, and you tell me if this would be in alignment. The whole thing just went. Da, 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 da. See,
my whole wall is gone.
Exposing the body.
All right, whatever.
You just surrender to it. So the second thing I want to recommend is to start investigating your own body. So that could be, I think, physically looking at it. But I also think, go back to school, take yourself back to school, get online, look at pictures of the body and the proper names, what the functions are. Also recognize that, as we know, the body is different every day. vulva is different, and not one of them is right or wrong.
Exactly. We're all extremely unique human beings. We all come with unique parts that are. I'm just in a makeshift kind of studio here. We're all as unique as we, sexually as we are in everything else in our life, right? So you can get the basics of the different parts of your body, and yes, there are different parts of the body of the vulva. What are they? And that is a good place to start to study your own physical body. And but you have to understand that you are unique. And when you're talking about, like, there's so much information, where do you go? And I think it's good to look at lots of different sources. Everybody comes with their different kinds of experiential information, and maybe various courses they've taken, and it'll come down to you gathering this information and then you experimenting with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find out what is going to work for you, what's going to be your pathway through this. Because that, again, is going to be different for everyone. And, every person that I work with is on a different path, doing things that are different. And experiencing things that are different, right? Yep. So, and that's the beautiful thing, that it's like I say, it's a multidimensional layer where there's just so much that you can experience physically. And as you don't have to think of it in like all of this stuff out there. It's just, okay, what's a step I'm going to take? What kind of step can I take that can then expand me a little bit into my sexuality? Okay, I've done that step. Stay there as long as you want until you feel comfortable, and let's take another step. Because there's always a step to take. There's always a step.
That's kind of,
there's no rush, there's no hurry.
Zone, expanding, going a little bit into your discomfort zone, and then making that area comfortable, and then going a little bit further, and you learn more and more. I wanted to share just briefly a little bit my story, because it might resonate with some people. Not the entire story, obviously, but a little bits and pieces of it. As I've stepped in to embrace my sexuality more, go on a journey of discovery for myself, something that I came across is, from a very young age, I would masturbate. I think starting from 4 years old, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I didn't know what it was, but I remember it being very pleasurable. Looking back through my life and just the journey I've been on doing my own work, I realized that a lot of the reasons why I did that, and like you said, the whole orgasm piece, and I can't say I necessarily orgasmed, but I got a lot of pleasure, and I did get some release out of it. I went through my parents being divorced, my father leaving, I felt abandoned. And then I took on a caretaker role, especially emotionally, for my mother. And I needed an outlet to release it in,
Right.
And so for me, it really became that. But then what happened is, my parents and my older sibling were very embarrassed by it and didn't know what to do with it. So I was told not to do it. I was told to stop doing it, and there's a lot of shame around it. And then what happened for so long is that part of the body became a no zone.
Right.
It became a no zone for everything. It felt like, which is unfortunate. And again, no fault or blame to my parents or to my siblings, because they were doing the best they could with the information they had and how they navigated through it themselves. But just realizing that and having to work through to heal that, and get more comfortable with my body, and actually having an orgasm, which is freaking fantastic, and I'm still on a journey of exploring my body in deeper levels, especially again on my own. I think that's the other thing, is that I came across, it's shameful to do it on your own. You should be doing it with somebody else. And that's actually not the case. You can be doing it on your own as well. As well as with a partner.
Recommended for sure. Spend some time on your own. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the other thing I realized in my journey is and this is what I want to talk to you too about, is the communication with a partner, because I think again there's these expectations of I should be doing it like this and this way, and I should want it this way, and these shoulda, coulda, wouldas. You're not getting your needs met, and oftentimes your partner is not set up for success, and they want to please you, and you want to please them. So the communication of like between the two of you, of what feels good, what works for each other, is so key to creating a good, healthy sex life. Can you speak more about that?
Yeah, well, that is another big, huge component because many people are, afraid to talk about sex at all, afraid of their bodies, so then not connected to their bodies, so maybe not even knowing what it is that they want. And if you not knowing, so then how can you even communicate what it is that you want? We don't even know what it is. So the communication with a partner is essential, and the way to get through that is because, like you were saying, we grow up in this with these ideas that we should know what we do. Especially for men, it's considered that men should know what they're doing, and women believe that men know what they're doing. So everybody just going to think, okay, men know what they're going to do, and they're going to take me on a journey, because I believe I've just been under the assumption that they should know what they're doing, and men think that they should know what they're doing. So it's because of that intense kind of pressure put on men in this kind of situation, they feel very threatened when you try to tell them what to do. So because they believe that they should know what they're doing, and like obviously something's wrong with you, because as a man I know what I'm doing, right? So it's a very tricky place to dive into, and both partners have to be really have to take a lot of breaths and really keep calm with each other and allow. Now, when I start with bringing conversation into a scenario with a couple, I start with something like, why don't you start by just talking about something that happened in the past? So you're not relating it to what you want now or what is going to happen in the future, but talk about something that you did in the past. Many couples don't even discuss, maybe how you lost your virginity is one example, which is a big event for people. Most people remember that event. If you don't remember anything else, you're going to remember, how you lost your virginity. Some people it's a good experience, and some people it's not a good experience. But in any case, it's something to start to talk about with your partner that's around sex that happened usually a while ago for most people, right? So just bring in some conversation from the past, so you start to communicate about something that's sexual, right?
Yep.
And as you start to bring in that kind of conversation, it can bring out other kinds of things as well, because now you've opened the box. Let's say you've opened up the fearful element. What else have you done? And this is such a big topic when it comes to communication sexually, because even if you are very experienced, it's sometimes hard to relay what it is exactly that you want. And I'll say, look, you gotta tell your partner in detail, absolute detail, how you want to be touched, because they can't read your mind. They may have been with a lot of different people, that every single person that you're with is going to require something different, is going to like something different, is going to have different desires, is going to not like other things. So you can guess to a certain extent by experimenting, but ultimately you have to start to get good at asking questions and revealing what it is that you want.
Yep.
Right? So, like I say, I start with some kind of communication. If it's a couple I'm working with, I'll start with communication that starts with some past events that they've had. And I kind of like start working with them and building up that communication. If they're not used to talking about sex, which I find a lot of people are not, building that up until they can maybe talk about a fantasy that they have, with each other. Talk about it when they're in bed and they're both relaxed, or they have a glass of wine, a scenario where they're both not feeling stressed at all, because sometimes people take it very personally, like, oh, you want to do that? Like, just conversation. This is just conversation. So I tread very lightly with that when I work with people, because I know that it is difficult. It's difficult to express yourself. Or one other thing that I can advise around this is that if you are starting to work on your own body and you're feeling different ways, practice talking out loud to yourself what it is that you like. Well, I really like to be touched this way or touched here, and that feels really good. Just practice saying some things.
Yeah, yeah.
If you can hear your own voice saying it without someone there, when somebody's there, it's going to be different, of course, but at least you're used to the sound of your voice saying that, right?
Yep.
And the more you say it, the easier it is.
Yeah.
The easier to say it, the easier to say you've released it, you said that, and then you can go on to another level of what you desire. I like to be touched here. Well, okay, I've been touched there a while now. I want you to say another level of, I'd like you to kiss me here. You know, I like this. I like to go slower. You're pushing too hard. Whatever. Yep. So practicing the words that you could use, just practicing them on your own, so you get used to the sound. You get used to saying them. They don't feel weird to you. You know, because with a partner, suddenly there's all this. There can be a lot of expectation. There can be more stress, because you want them to be happy, and they want you to be happy, and it's all this sort of back and forth stuff.
And you don't know how they're going to react, and that worries you, because I think especially as women, as in the bedroom or anywhere that you decide to have it, we're so worried that our needs won't be, not worried about our needs won't be met. We put our needs to the side. So asking for our needs is like, am I going to get it? Like, should I even ask? And I think it goes back to this idea that I think as a woman, we need to open to receive, but that doesn't mean, and give ourselves over. And this is that pressure that men, I think, feel is like, I have to give, but they don't know what to give. And they think it's like, I've been told I should know what to give, so I'm going to give the way I think I should give, and the woman should just accept it. That's actually not the case, and that's not open to receive. It's like, I'm going to use the analogy since I'm a vegan. It's like someone saying, I'm giving you the gift of a hamburger, just receive it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not what I want. Okay? But if you want to give me a vegan burger, hell yes, I'm open to it. So the same thing, and I think it's something so beautiful about my last relationship, is that we did start having conversations around sex and sexuality and our interactions together, having these deeper conversations, and it definitely changed the experience, and it also made it easier for me to open up, because one, I felt heard and trusted, if that makes sense. So I could open myself up to receive. And he also, it set him more up for success. Yeah. Which is great. And it was a win-win.
Win-win.
And exactly. And I wanted to speak about this concept of sexual energy, because one of the things my former partner and I used to do, not all the time, but a lot of the time, is we tried to create first a heart-to-heart connection. And when and it wasn't about just the sex, it was like, let's have that heart-to-heart connection. It was about love. I mean, it's like 100 times better. Yeah. Like, it's unbelievable. I mean, we both were like, wow.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's the energy, right? And the energy, this is another big area I teach a lot of people around, the sexual energy, because people go in way too fast. They go in, and then it dies down very quickly, because they haven't had a chance to feel each other out, to get to a place where they're understanding what's happening with this other person. They're taking them in with every sense of their being, right? Sexual energy is slow, like molasses. It's just this, and you have to get into that space before it doesn't start a fire. It's like putting a pot of cold water on the stove, right? It's going to take, and turning the heat on. It's going to take time to heat up. And that's what it's like. Sexual energy is first. I would say it's cold. I like to say molasses, because it's thick and moves slowly. So going in slowly, and this idea of connecting first with the heart. Yes, connecting first with the heart. connecting then in an intimate way, maybe just with the senses, going slowly. Like I work with people and I make them go like slow motion, slow, because unless your body wants to move because it desires to move, you're not in the sexual energy. But when you do go into that space, then your body takes in, and you can feel the energy coming into your being, and it just becomes this ride that builds and builds and builds, and it goes up and down too. So it's learning to play with the ride, like a dance in a sense, right? But it's an energy that your body has to be able to have the space in the room, and you need the trust as well to go on this ride, this up and down. And a number of different things that people have problems with, but I get with men, I get a lot of men who have problems with losing erections during sex and just saying, what's wrong with me? Like, why? I don't, and then it's difficult for both of them. And it's a ride. You go up and you go down. If things aren't working, stop. Just lie together quietly. Take your time. Start over. Let the heat rise again. It's like someone turned off the stove. Oh damn, the water's not hot yet. Okay. No. Let's turn it on again. Okay, it's gotta build up again. Gotta heat up again. Yeah. So that's the sexual energy. It's a beautiful energy to play in. It's an exploratory energy. It taps into your desires and all sorts of places that just make you feel amazing. And when you can connect with somebody in that energy and you can ride with them, then, it's quite an awesome experience.
Yeah. I think sometimes people look at sex like boiling water in a microwave versus boiling water on the stove.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Exactly.
Fast.
Way too fast. I would say 99% of people go way too fast.
Yeah. And that was definitely me for a while.
Slow down. There's no rush.
As I said, the other thing that in my own journey, that when I slowed down, I release more stuck energy in the body.
Yeah.
Because I give it time. It's like you said, molasses is almost like a brick at first, parts of my body, and I just start to move it. If I go too fast, it doesn't get released. And once I start giving my body permission to let go of some of that stuck energy, it can be so healing.
Yeah, I think it's like we're made of mostly water, and all of our cells are like kind of constricted in a certain way, and especially if we're living a linear life, everything is always moving the same way, right? If you're working or computer, you're always in the same kind of habitual movement. Well, sex, like I said again, is non-linear, so you have to let all of these molecules time to expand a little bit, and slowing down gives them this chance to expand. And then you feel things like, whoa, I feel this big thing that wants to release here, or wow, I feel this desire to do this, or because now you've given some expansion, you've let sort of the liquids, the waters move through and let the energy just come out a little bit, right?
Yep.
So slowing down is really number one, and then breathing is the number two thing that a lot of people, and thank God people are working on breathing through yoga and meditation now, really starting to connect with their breathing, because it's essential when you're having sex to be able to breathe. And you start, I teach a number of different breathing techniques. And so once you learn these techniques, or if you are a meditator or yogi, you have some techniques, so that when you do sort of lift out of your body into your head again, you can, breathe, go back, breathe deeply again, get back into my body so I can be present in this moment.
Yep.
Right.
I also think so many times people, at least from my experience, and I used to do this, and I still sometimes catch myself doing this, is I hold my breath.
Yeah.
I put my body right into sympathetic nervous system.
Am I breathing? Well, when you get excited, that's the thing with being excited. It's like everything comes up high, and this is for men too, because they get so excited, and then over.
Yeah.
So breathe in again, breathe again, go down, let the breath come down deep, deep,
Yeah.
deep, 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 so you can relax. You can open up more. For women, getting to various levels of orgasm, it's about the deep breathing, so your body will relax, surrender, let go, you know.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that's a whole conversation about orgasms, but
yeah, and I know we could
ultimate,
talk forever about this topic.
yes, yes.
Forever.
But ultimately, you know, it's working on that breathing. So I like to teach people to work on the breathing before they get into a sexual situation, because then they, again, like we're talking about with the conversation, you practice. This is stuff you need to practice. It's not. It isn't. It's natural in a sense. If we didn't have all these taboos put on top of us, or family pressures, or societal pressures, but we have had so much bombarded upon us that we have to like sort of lift all these layers off us, and start over, and talk our way through these things, so that we practice that breathing first. So when we go into the scenario, because we're always nervous when we first meet somebody, or we haven't done something before, it's new to us, it's scary, and it's you kind of have a sense of nervousness, which means your breathing is higher like this. So again, oh yeah, remember the breath, go back into the breath, I practice that breath.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better. Oh yeah, I feel better now. Now I can do it.
And like anything, the more that you practice these things, the more it's like a muscle memory. It becomes so normal. You don't need to practice them anymore. You'll just do it. It'll be automatic. And
exactly.
Again, we've been taught, we've been taught not to express our emotions, most of us. We've been taught not to talk about sex or think about it. It's like you should just know. So it's starting to break down these things and really take back your sexual power.
Yeah.
And standing in your truth of what it means to be a sexual being, and remembering that we are here because of sex. So let's start talking about it.
Exactly. We would not be here without sex.
Yep.
So it's major. It's a major part. The Taoists say, the Taoists are ancient Chinese philosophical wisdom about, and they did a lot of studying about sexuality and sexual energy, that it takes up 25 to 30% of your body energy. So if that 25 or 30% is dormant, that's a big chunk of your body. But the makeup, the energetic makeup, we come in through sex. Sex is part of who we are. Sex is a natural thing, and I'm passionate about helping people transform this energy into love and pleasure, because it is so inherently important to who we are.
Yeah.
And it brings so much pleasure and joy and love. And then on top of all that, healing, boost immunity, fight sickness, bring youthfulness, longevity. How can you say no?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I have loved this conversation. I want, if people want to get to know you more, check out your work, maybe even work with you, how can they contact you?
I'm on all the platforms. I have a webpage, liannawaldencoaching.com. So that's the webpage with various kinds of information, with a blog there. I have a YouTube channel. I've got maybe 60 videos on that right now. So check out my YouTube channel. All my information is I think posted in almost every YouTube that I make. About other ways you can connect with me, like on Instagram, Facebook. I'm very active. Right now I'm working a lot on my YouTube. I'm resurrecting it and making videos every week. So I would love to have you come and join me. Contact me if you have any questions.
Yeah, you have some really fun videos. I've seen a few both on Facebook and on your YouTube channel, of course, and I love that you're just putting more and more content out there, which is great, and just really, I think, helping people just become more connected, even just by in the mind, by thought alone, becoming more connected to their sexuality. So before we go, is there just one quick thing can people start doing today?
One quick thing in order to connect to their sexuality?
Yeah, whatever you feel most called to share.
Let's see. Well, I think starting with a non-linear movement exercise is really beneficial because that helps you let go. You can do it anytime you want, wherever you want. You can do it with your partner if you want, and just turn some music on that is slow, with no lyrics. Okay, no lyrics, just instrumental, and close your eyes in a place where you feel safe. Close your eyes and don't move unless your body tells you to move. You'll feel it in your body. Just let your body lead you. If your arm wants to go up, put your arm up. Your other arm wants to go up, do that. And just let yourself flow. Because again, the music being slow, it'll get you into this sort of this molasses kind of state, which is the sexual energy. And then your body is going to let you flow through it. And that's the kind of feeling that you want to have when you come into a sexual connection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, so give that a try.
Yeah, that's great. I also think that when we come into our sexual energy, which is sexual emotion, is something I talk about in my work as one of the 5 core emotions. That's our creativity. That's something wants to be birthed, born, created, produced. So it doesn't have to just be sex.
Yeah.
Tapping into that non-linear feeling and let yourself flow, let yourself surrender. It's unbelievable when you release from your mind, the control of your mind, what ideas come out and come forward, whether it's in your work, whether it's in something you do on the side that you're creating. It can be so many ways. And actually that's a higher vibrational frequency, as we already said. And it's a thriving energy.
Thriving, absolutely, absolutely. All sorts of things will bubble up for you. Don't judge yourself. As I say, close your eyes. Just let yourself move in whatever way. And yes, it's a beautiful technique to unleash all sorts of secrets inside of your body.
Yep. And don't be afraid if you giggle at yourself.
Oh yeah. We have to be playful, laugh at ourselves.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure. Which is another emotion we need to give ourselves permission to feel, is like that feeling of joy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, exactly.
So thank you so much, Lianna, for being on the podcast and just sharing parts of your wisdom. I would love sometime in the future for you to be back on so we can talk more about it. I will leave all your contact information in the show notes so people will know how to get a hold of you. But I just really appreciate you being here and sharing a part of yourself with this community.
Well, thank you so much. It's been really great talking to you. And yes. Thank you so much again. Great to be here. Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and my conversation with Lianna. All the information on how to learn more about her work are in the show notes, how to connect with her if you're interested in learning more about what she's doing or want to work with her or just have additional questions. She is amazing. I did a webinar last week, actually, where she was leading. And there was so much I took away from it. It was really, really powerful. And it was like simple things that she introduced that were pretty awesome in terms of just engaging with yourself, with your body, and start engaging with your more sexual side. And again, that doesn't mean sex. That's just, it's sexual energy. It could be creativity, what wants to be born, what wants to be birthed in essence. So before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a reflective question that I like to leave with each episode for you to really connect with yourself on a deeper level. So this episode's reflective question is, where might you step more into your sexuality? Like, where might you start to get more curious about your sexuality, and what does that look like for you if you're not already connected on a deep level? Okay, so take some time to really reflect on this question and maybe even journal about it. Okay, it's a great opportunity to learn more about yourself. This podcast is a gift, and it's in the spirit of gift. And if you're interested in supporting the work, please use the link in the show notes to make a contribution. It can be a one-time contribution or a recurring contribution. And if you can't make any contribution, that's okay too, because each and every one of you deserve to receive this information, no matter how you can support it, because you're all worthy of it. Also, if you haven't already, please feel free to join the Facebook community called In Her Power. I will put that link also in the show notes. That's it for this episode. Remember the African word, or really not word, or maybe proverb, I should say. Ubuntu, which means I am because we are. Beijos.